Today we're diving deep into the Occult Iceberg, a mysterious and comprehensive map of hidden knowledge that reveals the true depth of esoteric wisdom. Before we begin this journey into the depths, let me know in the comments where you're watching from around the world. While occult icebergs have gained massive popularity on social media and forums recently, appearing in countless TikTok videos and Reddit discussions, this concept represents something far more profound than internet memes. It's a genuine hierarchy of mystical knowledge that has guided seekers for centuries, passed down through secret societies, mystery schools, and hidden traditions that most people never even know exist. Known as the traditional structure of initiation, the occult iceberg maps the progression from surface-level curiosity to the most guarded secrets of reality itself. Each level represents deeper mysteries that fewer and fewer people can access or understand, creating a pyramid of knowledge where millions might dabble in astrology and crystals at the surface, but only dozens worldwide might have access to the deepest teachings. What makes this structure so fascinating is that it mirrors the ancient mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, and Rome, where knowledge was carefully divided into levels, based on a student's readiness and spiritual development. These weren't just arbitrary divisions, they were based on the understanding that certain knowledge could destroy an unprepared mind, drive someone insane, or attract dangerous spiritual forces. The ancient Egyptians believed that revealing the wrong secrets to the wrong person could upset the cosmic order itself. What lies at the very bottom of this iceberg? What forbidden knowledge awaits those who dare to descend into territories where governments have classified information as too dangerous for public consumption? And why have these teachings been hidden from the masses for millennia, protected by blood oaths, secret codes, and sometimes even death threats? The answer lies in the recognition that some truths are too powerful for casual consumption, and some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Join us as we descend layer by layer through the depths of esoteric wisdom and uncover the complete structure of the occult iceberg. Explain. To truly grasp the occult iceberg, we must first understand its ancient foundations and mystery schools, and secret societies that have operated in the shadows of civilization for thousands of years. If you're ready to explore these hidden depths with us, hit that subscribe button now. From the Egyptian Book of the Dead to the Hermetic corpus, from the Kabbalah to the Gnostic Gospels, initiatory systems have always organized knowledge into ascending levels of complexity and danger. The mystery schools of antiquity, Eleusis, Dionysiac, and Orphic, all followed this same pattern. Public teachings for the masses, deeper secrets for initiates, and the most profound mysteries reserved only for the highest adepts who had proven their worthiness through years of testing and spiritual development. In ancient Egypt, the temple system was perhaps the most sophisticated example of this hierarchical knowledge structure. The temple priests would teach basic moral principles and simple rituals to ordinary citizens during public festivals. But the deeper mysteries of death and rebirth, the secret names of the gods, and the actual techniques for navigating the afterlife were only revealed to those who underwent years of preparation and testing. The famous Egyptian priest Imhotep, who later became deified as a god of wisdom, was said to have possessed knowledge that could heal any disease, predict the future with perfect accuracy, and even communicate with the dead. But this knowledge was never written down in any public text. Instead, it was passed from master to student through a carefully guarded oral tradition that required each initiate to prove their spiritual maturity before advancing to the next level. The Eleusinian mysteries in Greece operated for over 1,000 years, from around 1500 BCE to 392 CE, and participants swore oaths of secrecy so binding that breaking them was punishable by death. Even today, after centuries of scholarly investigation, we only have fragments of what was actually taught in their inner chambers. What we do know is that initiates experienced something so profound that it completely transformed their understanding of life and death. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher Cicero, and the playwright Sophocles all underwent these mysteries and spoke of them as the most important experiences of their lives. But none ever revealed the specific teachings. This structure influenced everything from medieval alchemical orders to modern secret societies like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Freemasonry. The Kabbalah's Tree of Life contains 10 Sephiroth and 22 paths, representing different aspects of divine emanation and the human soul's journey back to its source. The Golden Dawn had 10 grades across 3 orders, each requiring mastery of specific texts, rituals, and spiritual practices before advancement was possible. These weren't arbitrary numbers. They represented carefully graduated levels of consciousness and spiritual development that had been tested and refined over centuries of practice. Medieval alchemists like Paracelsus, Nicholas Flamel, and John Dee would publish books with surface-level information about turning base metals into gold. But the real teaching was about transforming human consciousness from its base state into something divine. This knowledge was hidden in symbols and codes that only advanced students could decode. For example, when an alchemical text spoke of dissolving the king and queen in the philosophical mercury, It wasn't talking about actual metals, it was describing a specific meditation technique for balancing masculine and feminine energies. Within the practitioner's consciousness, the Renaissance period saw the emergence of secret societies like the Rosicrucians, who claimed to possess ancient wisdom that could revolutionize human understanding of reality. Their manifestos, published in the early 1600s, promised knowledge of healing, prophecy, and the transmutation of matter. But they also warned that this knowledge would only be given to those who had purified their hearts and minds through rigorous spiritual discipline. The iceberg metaphor itself emerged from the recognition that, like an iceberg, most occult knowledge remains hidden beneath the surface, with only the safest, most accessible teachings visible to the uninitiated. This understanding crystallized in the 19th and 20th centuries as scholars like Helena Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, and Israel Regardie began to systematically document and organize the scattered fragments of ancient wisdom traditions. They recognized that the same hierarchical structure appeared in virtually every authentic spiritual tradition throughout history, from the Hindu guru-disciple relationship to the Sufi tariqa system to the Christian monastic orders. This tiered approach to wisdom has shaped Western esotericism for over 2 millennia, creating the foundation for what we now call the occult iceberg, where each level represents not just different information, but different levels of spiritual development and responsibility. The occult iceberg appears as a vast pyramid of knowledge, with each descending level becoming darker, more dangerous, and exponentially smaller in terms of who can access it. At the tip, we find seemingly innocent topics: astrology, crystals, meditation, tarot readings, that millions engage with daily, completely unaware they're touching the edge of something infinitely deeper and more powerful. These surface practices are like the colorful fish swimming near the top of the ocean, beautiful, accessible, and relatively safe for anyone to observe. You can walk into any bookstore and find hundreds of books on these topics, attend workshops at local community centers, or watch thousands of YouTube videos without any special preparation or warnings. The energy here feels light, welcoming, and non-threatening, but as we move down from this sunlit surface, the waters grow murky, and the atmosphere begins to change. Popular magic gives way to serious ceremonial work that requires years of study and practice. New Age spirituality transforms into rigorous initiatory practices that demand complete lifestyle changes. Casual weekend interest becomes lifelong dedication that consumes every aspect of a practitioner's existence. Here we encounter the working tools of serious magicians, grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Picatrix, and the Book of Abramelin, which contain detailed instructions for summoning and commanding spiritual entities. These aren't simple spellbooks, but complex systems that require mastery of Hebrew, Latin, and Arabic, along with precise ritual timing based on planetary movements and lunar phases. The very air in these middle depths seems to thicken with an almost electrical charge, as if reality itself becomes more malleable and responsive to focused will. Practitioners at this level report experiencing phenomena that would terrify most people: voices speaking from empty rooms, objects moving without physical cause, and encounters with beings that exist beyond normal perception. The deeper we descend, the more the familiar laws of physics seem to bend and break. In the middle depths, we find the domain of the true occultist, where practitioners work with forces that can literally reshape reality around them. The atmosphere here grows heavy with genuine power and potential danger. These are the territories where advanced ceremonial magicians perform operations that can influence world events, where chaos magicians hack the operating system of reality itself, and where traditional witches work with ancestral spirits and land-based powers that predate human civilization. The energy signature at this level is unmistakable. It feels ancient, primal, and alive with intelligence that operates according to rules completely different from our everyday world. At the bottom lie the most forbidden territories: the knowledge that breaks minds, the practices that transform souls, and the truths that governments and religions have killed to suppress. Here, the very concept of individual identity begins to dissolve, as practitioners encounter forces so vast and incomprehensible that human language becomes inadequate to describe them. The deepest levels pulse with an almost gravitational pull that simultaneously attracts and terrifies anyone sensitive enough to perceive it. Ancient texts describe this realm as the dwelling place of the outer gods, intelligences so alien and powerful that direct contact with them can drive humans permanently insane. The few practitioners who have ventured into these depths and return describe an environment where time flows differently, where thoughts manifest instantly into reality, and where the boundaries between self and cosmos completely disappear. The manifestation of the iceberg isn't just metaphorical, it represents the actual energetic and psychological barriers that protect both the knowledge and those who aren't ready to receive it. Each level acts as a natural filter, ensuring that only those with the proper preparation, mental stability, and spiritual development can safely access the deeper mysteries. The structure itself seems to be alive, responding to the intentions and capabilities of those who approach it. revealing more to those who are ready while remaining invisible to those who aren't. Each level of the occult iceberg grants specific abilities and unlocks particular aspects of reality that were previously hidden from normal human perception. The surface level teaches basic energy work, intuition development, and simple manifestation techniques that anyone can learn with a few weeks of practice. Here you learn to sense auras, those colored energy fields that surround every living being, worked with lunar cycles to time your activities for maximum effectiveness, and perform basic protective rituals that can shield you from negative influences. These abilities might seem minor, but they represent the first steps toward recognizing that reality is far more fluid and responsive than most people realize. Practitioners at this level often report increased synchronicities, better intuitive decision-making, and a general sense that life is flowing more smoothly. They learn to work with crystals not just as pretty objects, but as tools that can store, amplify, and direct energy for specific purposes. They discover that meditation isn't just relaxation, but a technology for accessing altered states of consciousness, where different kinds of information become available. Descending further unlocks divination mastery, advanced energy manipulation, and the ability to work with spiritual entities that exist in dimensions parallel to our own. Practitioners here develop genuine psychic abilities. They can perform accurate tarot readings that reveal hidden patterns in people's lives, practice remote viewing to gather information from distant locations, and use various forms of to glimpse possible futures. Their energy work becomes sophisticated enough to perform genuine healings, removing blockages and imbalances that manifest as physical illness. They learn to influence probability itself, subtly shifting the likelihood of desired outcomes through focused intention and ritual work. At this level, many practitioners begin to experience visits from spirit guides, angels, or other non-physical intelligences that offer guidance and assistance. These beings aren't just imaginary friends, they're autonomous entities with their own agendas and personalities, capable of providing information that the practitioner couldn't possibly know through normal means. The true occultist emerges in the middle depths, capable of astral projection, reality shifting, and ceremonial magic that produces measurable, repeatable results. Astral projection allows practitioners to separate their consciousness from their physical body and explore non-physical realms that exist parallel to our material world. These aren't just vivid dreams or hallucinations experienced. Projectors can gather verifiable information from distant locations, communicate with deceased individuals, and explore alternate dimensions inhabited by beings that have never been human. Reality shifting involves the ability to literally move between parallel versions of reality, selecting timelines where desired outcomes have already occurred. This level grants access to the Akashic Records, a non-physical library that contains the complete history of every soul's journey through multiple lifetimes. Practitioners can retrieve information about past lives, understand the karmic patterns that influence current circumstances, and even glimpse potential futures based on current choices and actions. Communication with higher intelligences becomes routine, whether through formal invocation ceremonies or spontaneous contact during meditation. These beings, sometimes called angels, demons, or interdimensional entities, possess knowledge and abilities that far exceed human limitations. Few practitioners reach the deeper levels, where the ability to manipulate time consciousness and the fundamental forces of creation becomes possible. Here lies the power to transform matter at the molecular level, to transcend the ordinary, the cycle of death and rebirth, and to access parallel dimensions where different versions of reality exist simultaneously. Advanced practitioners at this level can perform what can only be described as miracles, healing incurable diseases instantly, manifesting objects from thin air, and even appearing in multiple locations simultaneously. They develop the ability to manipulate time itself, speeding up or slowing down processes, or even accessing past and future events directly. At the bottom of the iceberg reside abilities that transcend normal human comprehension: the power to rewrite the fundamental laws of reality, to become divine beings in their own right, and to access what some traditions call the source code of existence itself. Each level demands increasingly greater sacrifices: time, comfort, social connections, and sometimes sanity itself. The deeper you go, the more you must surrender of your previous identity and way of life. Surface-level practitioners might meditate for 20 minutes a day, but deep-level adepts often spend years in complete isolation, dedicating every waking moment to their spiritual development. Advanced practitioners don't work alone. They're aided by an entire network of spirit guides, angels, demons, and other entities that exist beyond normal perception. These beings serve as teachers, protectors, and assistants, each bringing their own specialized knowledge and abilities to support the practitioner's work. But with great power comes profound responsibility and equally profound danger. As we'll explore in the deeper implications of this ancient wisdom structure, the occult iceberg represents far more than just a catalog of mystical practices. It symbolizes humanity's fundamental relationship with the unknown and our simultaneous attraction to and fear of ultimate truth. Like the mythological figure of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, the iceberg warns us that some knowledge comes at a price we may not be willing to pay. In Greek mythology, Prometheus was punished for his theft by being chained to a rock where an eagle would eat his liver every day for eternity, only for it to regenerate each night so the torture could begin again. This myth captures the essential danger of the occult iceberg. The pursuit of forbidden knowledge can lead to suffering that extends far beyond normal human experience. Similarly, the story of Icarus flying too close to the sun serves as a warning about the dangers of ascending too quickly through the levels of mystical knowledge without proper preparation and respect for the forces involved. Psychologically, each level of the iceberg represents a different stage of consciousness evolution, from the ego-driven surface concerns to the complete dissolution of individual identity in the deepest realms. The surface level corresponds to what psychologists call the normal waking consciousness, the everyday awareness that most people experience throughout their lives. Here, the ego feels safe and in control, working with practices that enhance personal power and comfort without fundamentally challenging the individual's sense of self. As we descend deeper, we encounter what Carl Jung called the shadow, the repressed and denied aspects of human nature that must be integrated before true spiritual growth can occur. The middle levels of the iceberg force practitioners to confront their own darkness, their capacity for both creation and destruction, and the uncomfortable truth that good and evil are often more complex than simple moral categories suggest. The deepest levels require what mystics throughout history have called ego death, the complete dissolution of the sense of separate self that most people consider to be their core identity. This isn't just a temporary altered state, but a permanent transformation that fundamentally changes how a person experiences reality. From a philosophical perspective, the iceberg poses profound questions about the nature of knowledge itself and humanity's relationship with truth. Is there knowledge too dangerous for humans to possess? Should wisdom be restricted to those who can handle it responsibly? Are we meant to remain in a state of comfortable ignorance for our own protection? These questions have been debated by philosophers, theologians, and mystics for thousands of years, and the occult iceberg suggests that the answer isn't simple. The structure implies that knowledge itself has a kind of consciousness. It reveals itself only to those who are ready to receive it, while remaining hidden from those who might misuse it or be destroyed by it. This is why traditional mystery schools required years of preparation, testing, and gradual initiation rather than simply handing out advanced teachings to anyone who asked. The deeper levels don't just contain information, they contain transformative forces that can completely reshape a person's consciousness, sometimes in ways that make it impossible to function in normal society. Stories abound of practitioners who ventured too deep too quickly and emerged as fundamentally different beings, sometimes enlightened masters, but more often broken individuals who could no longer relate to ordinary human concerns. The iceberg also represents the tension between individual spiritual development and collective human evolution, while each person must ultimately walk their own path toward truth. The structure suggests that humanity as a whole is on a collective journey toward greater understanding and spiritual maturity. The fact that more people than ever before are interested in occult and esoteric topics may indicate that our species is ready for a new level of consciousness. Or it may simply reflect the dangers of making advanced spiritual technologies available to unprepared minds through the internet. The iceberg teaches us that curiosity without wisdom, power without responsibility, and knowledge without spiritual maturity can lead to destruction rather than enlightenment. This is why authentic spiritual traditions have always emphasized the importance of ethical development, alongside the acquisition of psychic abilities and mystical knowledge. The ultimate message of the iceberg is that the path to truth is not just an intellectual journey, but a complete transformation of being that requires everything we think we are to be surrendered in service of what we might become. The occult iceberg exploded into mainstream consciousness through internet memes and viral TikTok videos. But these popular versions barely scratch the surface of the real knowledge structure that has guided spiritual seekers for millennia. Online occult communities have created dozens of different iceberg charts, each attempting to map the progression from beginner-friendly topics to the most extreme and dangerous practices known to humanity. These digital interpretations typically start with familiar concepts like astrology, crystals, and meditation at the tip, then progress through increasingly obscure magical systems, ancient grimoires, and forbidden practices, finally ending with reality-bending techniques and cosmic horror entities that most people have never even heard of. What makes these modern charts particularly fascinating is how they've accidentally recreated the exact same hierarchical structure that ancient mystery schools used to organize their teachings. Despite most of their creators having no formal training in traditional occult systems, the viral nature of these memes has created something unprecedented in human history, a form of mass initiation where millions of people are simultaneously being introduced to concepts that were once restricted to small groups of carefully selected and prepared individuals. The basic premise of these internet icebergs follows a predictable pattern. The surface level contains practices that seem harmless and are widely accepted in mainstream culture, while each descending tier introduces concepts that are progressively more controversial, dangerous, and socially unacceptable. A typical chart might start with zodiac signs and dream interpretation, move through Wiccan rituals and chakra work, then progress to ceremonial magic and spirit communication, before finally reaching territories like reality manipulation, time, travel, and contact with alien or demonic intelligences. What's remarkable is how these memes have actually become functional initiation tools. People naturally progress from surface-level curiosity to deeper research based on these visual guides, often without realizing they're following the same path that mystical traditions have used for centuries. The meme format perfectly captures the traditional mystery school structure, where visible teachings serve as stepping stones to hidden knowledge, which in turn leads to forbidden territory that most people aren't mentally or spiritually prepared to handle. Behind these seemingly innocent internet charts lies centuries of genuine occult philosophy, carefully preserved wisdom that has been passed down through secret societies, mystery schools, and esoteric traditions. The creators of these memes have unknowingly become modern-day hierophants, distributing ancient knowledge to millions through social media platforms. However, this mass distribution has created a significant problem. The traditional safeguards and preparation methods that were designed to protect both the knowledge and the students have been completely bypassed. Ancient mystery schools required years of ethical training, psychological preparation, and spiritual development before students were allowed to access advanced teachings. The modern internet version gives anyone with a smartphone immediate access to information that could fundamentally alter their perception of reality or attract the attention of non-human intelligences. The tragedy emerges when curious individuals, many of them teenagers or young adults, dive too deep, too fast, without proper preparation, guidance, or protection. Unlike traditional initiates who were carefully screened and gradually introduced to these concepts under the supervision of experienced teachers, modern seekers often find themselves completely alone, dealing with forces they don't understand and can't control. The results can be devastating: psychological breaks, spiritual attacks, entity attachments, or what some practitioners call occult burnout, where exposure to too much mystical energy too quickly can cause permanent damage to a person's mental and spiritual well-being. The memes present these dangerous practices as mere curiosities or interesting topics to research, completely hiding the very real power and peril that these subjects contain. For example, a chart might casually mention Gotia or chaos magic without explaining that these are serious magical systems that can fundamentally alter the practitioner's relationship with reality and attract the attention of entities that don't necessarily have human welfare in mind. The deception isn't intentional. Most meme creators genuinely don't understand the full implications of what they're sharing, but the result is the same. Unprepared individuals are being exposed to spiritual technologies that were never meant for casual consumption. Young seekers, attracted by the mystery, rebellion, and promise of hidden power, often find themselves in situations that are completely beyond their ability to handle. They might attempt to perform rituals from ancient grimoires without understanding the proper protective measures, or try to contact spiritual entities without knowing how to establish boundaries or end the communication safely. The online occult community is filled with stories of people who started with innocent curiosity about astrology or tarot cards and ended up dealing with paranormal harassment, chronic nightmares, or what they describe as spiritual parasites that feed on their energy and emotions. This phenomenon reflects our modern relationship with information in general. We have unprecedented access to knowledge from all corners of human experience, but we lack the wisdom, context, and traditional safeguards that would help us navigate this information safely. The internet has democratized access to occult knowledge in ways that would have been unimaginable even 50 years ago. But democracy doesn't automatically create responsibility or wisdom. The viral occult iceberg serves as both invitation and warning. It shows us the path to ultimate knowledge while simultaneously demonstrating what happens when that path is traveled without proper preparation, respect, or guidance. It reveals the fundamental tension between the human desire for truth and power and our often inadequate ability to handle the consequences of getting what we think we want. The deeper message of these modern interpretations is that knowledge itself is neutral, but the context in which it's received and applied determines whether it leads to enlightenment or destruction. The occult iceberg ultimately reflects something profound about human nature that transcends any specific mystical tradition or practice. Our insatiable hunger for truth, even when that truth has the potential to completely destroy everything we think we know about ourselves and reality. Throughout history, humans have consistently demonstrated this paradoxical relationship with knowledge, simultaneously building institutions to preserve and transmit wisdom while also creating barriers and restrictions to prevent that same wisdom from being misused or accessed by those who aren't ready for it. The iceberg represents the eternal tension between curiosity and safety. between the drive toward enlightenment and the comfort of ignorance, between the desire for power and the wisdom to understand that some powers come with responsibilities that most people aren't prepared to accept. We all experience this fundamental paradox in our daily lives. We are drawn to mystery, fascinated by the unknown, and constantly seeking to understand more about the nature of reality. Yet we simultaneously fear change, resist challenges to our existing beliefs, and often prefer the predictable limitations of our current understanding to the uncertain possibilities that deeper knowledge might bring. The iceberg maps this universal human experience, showing us both the treasures and terrors that await those who dare to venture beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. Like the hero's journey described in mythology, or the alchemical process of transformation that turns base metals into gold, the iceberg describes a fundamental pattern of human transformation that appears in every culture and historical period. The recognition that we must be willing to descend into darkness, confusion, and the dissolution of our current identity if we want to discover the light of deeper truth. This isn't just a metaphor or philosophical concept. It's a practical description of what happens to anyone who seriously pursues mystical knowledge and spiritual development. The journey requires us to question everything we've been taught, to confront aspects of ourselves and reality that we'd rather avoid, and to accept that the person who begins the journey is not the same person who completes it. Perhaps the most important lesson of the occult iceberg isn't about the specific knowledge contained in each level, but about the courage required to face the unknown, and the wisdom to know when to stop, when to seek guidance, and when to accept that we might not be ready for certain truths. The structure teaches us that authentic spiritual development is not a casual hobby or weekend interest, but a complete transformation of being that affects every aspect of our lives. It reminds us that the pursuit of ultimate truth is not a game or entertainment, but a serious undertaking that requires dedication, preparation, and respect for forces that are far more powerful than our individual will or desire. The iceberg also suggests that this journey is not meant to be traveled alone. Throughout history, those who have successfully navigated the deeper levels of mystical knowledge have done so with the guidance of teachers, the support of communities, and the protection of time-tested traditions and safeguards. The modern tendency to approach these subjects as isolated individuals, relying on internet research and personal experimentation, represents a dangerous departure from the wisdom that has guided spiritual seekers for thousands of years. Ultimately, the occult iceberg reminds us that truth is not always liberating in the way we might expect. Sometimes it's a burden that transforms us in ways we never anticipated and can never undo, leading us to a deeper understanding of reality, while simultaneously isolating us from those who haven't shared the same journey. If this journey into the hidden depths of human knowledge has sparked your curiosity and left you wondering about the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of everyday reality, then you're already feeling the pull of the iceberg itself. The very fact that you've watched this far suggests that you're among those individuals who sense that there's more to existence than what we're taught in school, shown in mainstream media, or encouraged to believe by conventional society. Please like this video and subscribe to Sigil Sanctum for more explorations into the territories of consciousness that most people never even know exist. We're dedicated to mapping these hidden realms of human experience, unveiling the ancient wisdom that has been preserved in secret for centuries, and helping serious seekers navigate the complex and often dangerous landscape of esoteric knowledge. Our mission isn't to provide easy answers or comfortable reassurances, but to serve as guides for those who feel called to explore the deeper mysteries of existence, while also providing the warnings and context that are often missing from modern presentations of these subjects. In future videos, we'll be diving into specific levels of the iceberg, exploring individual practices and traditions in detail, examining the historical development of various mystical systems, and interviewing practitioners who have journeyed into the deeper waters and lived to tell about their experiences. We'll be covering everything from the practical techniques of energy work and divination to the philosophical implications of consciousness research and the psychological challenges of spiritual development. We'll also be addressing the very real dangers that await unprepared seekers, the importance of proper training and guidance, and the ethical responsibilities that come with accessing knowledge that can influence both your own life and the lives of others. Remember, fellow seekers, the sanctum of ancient wisdom is always open to those who approach it with genuine reverence and serious intent. But true power lies not in rushing headlong into the unknown, but in developing the patience, wisdom, and spiritual maturity to know when to advance and when to wait for further preparation. The path of the mystic is not a race or competition, but a lifelong journey of discovery that requires everything we think we are to be offered in service of what we might become. Until next time, may your sigils guide you safely through the shadows of the unknown, and may you always remember that the greatest mysteries are not found in ancient books or secret rituals, but in the depths of your own consciousness waiting to be explored.